Welcome! Today we are diving deep into the single most important scene in Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. I'm talking about Act 3, Scene 1, the moment where everything changes, the absolute point of no return. And if you're an ICSE Class 10 student, this explainer is going to break it all down for you. You know, these two questions are really at the heart of the entire play. And in this one scene, they don't just get asked, they come crashing together with deadly force. Okay, so to really get a handle on the explosion that is Act 3, Scene 1, we first need to understand how the fuse was lit. Let's do a quick recap of how we even got to this breaking point. Right now, the air in Rome is just thick with tension. The city is basically split right down the middle. On one side, you've got the common folks who absolutely adore Caesar, but on the other, you have powerful people like the tribunes Flavius and Morellus who are looking at Caesar's popularity and thinking, uh-oh, this is how tyranny begins. And right in the middle of this storm is Caesar himself, who is just a fascinating bundle of contradictions. Publicly, he's this larger-than-life hero who has made Rome rich, but privately, he's hiding some serious vulnerabilities. He's deaf in one ear and he has epilepsy. He puts on this show of incredible strength, but underneath it all, he's just a man. Now this is where Brutus comes in. He is struggling. He genuinely loves Caesar as a friend, but he loves the idea of the Roman Republic even more. And this inner conflict makes him the perfect target for the conspirators, especially their leader, Cassius. See, Cassius is smart. He knows that if they're going to kill Caesar, they need Brutus on their side. Why? Because Brutus is Mr. Honor, and he's the only one who can make this assassination look like a noble sacrifice for Rome. And the crazy part is, Caesar gets so many warnings. A soothsayer literally tells him in public, beware the Ides of March. His own wife, Calpurnia, has these terrifying nightmares about his death. But Caesar's pride, his ego, is just too big. He lets the conspirators flatter him, and he decides he's invincible. He dismisses every single warning and walks right into the trap. And that brings us right here to the Capitol building on March 15th. The Ides of March have finally come, and the conspirators are ready to make their move. The plan is actually pretty brilliant. They don't just attack him, they use a fake petition as a distraction to get close. Metellus Cimber kneels first, then Brutus, then Cassius, and before Caesar knows it, he's completely surrounded by the men who are about to become his killers. And how does Caesar respond to their petition? With pure, uncut arrogance. He compares himself to the North Star, the one star in the sky that never moves. He's basically saying, my decisions are final. I don't change my mind, ever. In this moment of incredible pride, he completely shuts them down, and in doing so, he seals his own fate. And then, it happens. Suddenly, Casca stabs him from behind. Immediately, all the other conspirators jump in, a whirlwind of daggers. And then comes the final blow. And this one is about way more than just a physical wound. Caesar's last words aren't a scream of pain. They're a whisper of pure shock and heartbreak. Seeing his friend Brutus among the attackers is the thing that finally breaks him. Shakespeare is making it crystal clear. It wasn't the daggers that killed Caesar. It was the betrayal. So Caesar is dead on the Senate floor. And now? Well, now it's chaos. The conspirators have a huge new problem. How do they explain what they've just done to the people of Rome? What they do next is pretty shocking. They literally bend down and wash their hands in Caesar's blood. This isn't just them being gruesome. It's a calculated move. They're trying to rebrand this murder as a holy sacrifice, a cleansing ritual for Rome. They're trying to sell themselves as heroes. Then Mark Antony shows up. Now, he's Caesar's best friend, and he is a master actor. He sees Caesar's body, but he puts on a mask of calm and cooperation. He even shakes the bloody hands of every single killer. But behind that mask, his mind is racing, already plotting his revenge. And this is where the conspirators' plan starts to fall apart. Cassius, who's got great instincts, immediately sees the danger. He says, no way, we cannot let Antony speak to the public. He'll turn everyone against us. But Brutus, blinded by his own code of honor, thinks he can control the situation. He makes a fatal mistake. Okay, Brutus says, okay, Antony can speak at the funeral, but only if he follows my rules. He genuinely believes these little conditions will be enough to keep Antony in check. This decision, this naive belief in his own rules, is the single biggest mistake he makes, and it's what's going to lead to their downfall. The second the conspirators leave the room, Antony's mask comes off. He's alone with Caesar's body, and he just explodes with grief and rage. He calls the honorable conspirators butchers, and he promises a brutal, bloody civil war that will tear Italy apart as revenge for this murder. Okay, so let's zoom out a bit. Now that we've gone through the action, let's talk about the big ideas, the key themes in this scene. This is the stuff you absolutely need to know for your exams.
First up, betrayal. I mean, this theme is everywhere. It's a political betrayal, sure, senators turning on their leader, but what makes it so powerful is that it's also deeply personal. Caesar could handle his enemies, but he couldn't handle his friend turning on him. That et tu, Brute? That's the sound of a heart breaking.
And of course, you can't talk about this scene without talking about honor. Brutus does what he does because he honestly believes he's saving Rome. He thinks it's the honorable thing to do. But the big question Shakespeare wants us to ask is, can you do something dishonorable, like murder a friend, for an honorable reason? Does the end really justify the means? All right, one last thing before we wrap up. Let's go over a few key words from the scene. Understanding the language they use is going to give you a much deeper understanding of what's really happening. See, to really get this scene, you have to speak the language of power. When Caesar says he's tired of their couchings, he means he's sick of their phony bowing and scraping. When they talk about enfranchisement, they're talking about political freedom. And when Caesar refuses to change his decree, he's showing just how stubborn and unbending he is. These aren't just vocabulary words. They're the weapons they use before the daggers come out.
And so, we end right back where we started, with a really tough question. Brutus famously says he did it, not that I loved Caesar less, but that I loved Rome more. So what do you think? Was this the ultimate act of a patriot, making a hard choice for the good of his country? Or was it the ultimate betrayal? Shakespeare doesn't give us an easy answer, and that's exactly the point.